girl Sheila Gololo, a double master's graduate, a junior forensic investigator, currently on secondment. So today we are doing the last paper 3. So for those who just joined in today, I have been doing a series on how I've managed to pass all 4 of my board exams, and I'm just giving out tips to those that will be writing March 2025. So if you have not watched the first 2 videos, just after this one, please do go and watch episode 1 and 2, like and subscribe. Thank you. So we are doing paper 3 today. So paper 3, I know there's a lot of noise around how this paper is very difficult and so my advice to those that are writing in March, please delete the thought from your brain. Our journeys as people are not the same. One person might find something very difficult, the other might find it quite easy. So do not let anyone else's experience determine how you would perceive the paper. Delete the idea of the paper is so difficult, just go write it. Give it your all, like give the paper your best, and you might come with a pass. Actually, you will come with a pass, you know. That's one thing that I did. So when I told people that I'm writing all 4, people were like, oh, but paper 3, and I was like, I am writing all 4, and look at me, I came back with a pass. So please just block out all the negativity around the paper. Now getting on to it, paper 3, the bulk of the marks come from the law of contract. So I suggest when you study, start with the law of contract. And do not study contract in such a way that you want to parrot what the guide says, the lead guide. Whenever I make reference to the guide, please just know I'm talking about the lead guide. Rather know what the clause deals with. So let's say you've got a breach of contract clause. You don't have to read it off the text, the lead guide, and cram it that way. No. Have your elements. Like in a breach clause, you'd obviously have what would cause the breach. Are there any options to remedy the breach? Around which time frame can the breach be remedied? And failing which, what's going to happen? So you know that you're working from 4 elements. So when they ask you a scenario around asking for a breach of contract clause, you know that you've got to highlight 4 elements which forms part of a breach of contract clause. So you don't really need to cram or force your brain to memorize what the lead guy says, but you would know that, okay, in a breach of contract there are 4 things that I need to address. In a suspensive condition, I should obviously give which condition is it upon, how for which period is it suspended, and what's the resolution should the condition not be met. So you understand that you already know the things that you must put in your clause. So you don't necessarily have to cram the legalese around the clause, but you just it comes naturally. You can use your own simple English, just making sure that you highlight the elements that are important for that specific clause. So that's it from me for the clauses. And then coming to self-assessment questions on the lead guide. Guys, do those assessments because they prepare you and also give you an idea on how they ask the questions surrounding the contracts. So do not just study the contract itself and forget about the self-assessment. Do the self-assessment because it gives you an idea and also on how they can actually use a scenario but asking something. And so if you go on the lead guide, you will notice they will ask a sale of a business agreement in so many forms. So it then gives you an idea that, okay, if this comes up, then they're asking this. If this comes up, then they're asking this. So that's how you're going to master it. I know when we wrote in August, there came a question. So that question lingered around it. If you misinterpret it, you would think it's a sale of a business agreement or a special power of attorney, but in actual fact it was a director's resolution. So once you have familiarized yourself with so many facts, it has to do with the sale of a business. But in that context, they're not asking for a sale of a business agreement, but they're asking for what? A director's resolution. So keep on the lookout for things like that, and do your self-assessment questions, as it prepares you for different forms of contracts that they can ask under a scenario that would purport to be like a sale of business agreement or a lease, and just things like that. And then coming to the other short-term modules, modules like matrimonial regimes, quite easy. We've dealt with marriage in community of property, out of community of property, and just those three. So when you study that, you can just literally just make sure you know the three different marital regimes: before marriage, during marriage what happens, and after marriage what happens to the assets, the liabilities, and just the estates as a whole. So then you know that once you've covered those three aspects for each matrimonial regime, you've covered enough that you need to know for the exam. And then coming to legal technology, this was fairly a new one. I did not draw much upon it. I just told myself, you know what, I will see it when I get through the exam. And fair enough, just what I brushed over while I was studying was enough for me to pass. And then all the other ancillary modules around that, it's fairly manageable pieces. But the bulk of your work, please, your law of contract, know the elements surrounding your specific clauses, because then this helps you to be able to, not you having to cram or memorize a clause, but to automatically know that, okay, I'm dealing with this clause. This clause would highlight things like the time frame, the condition, or whatever. Then you're able to write it in your own words. It doesn't have to be that difficult. And then also most agreements, contractual agreements, we know there are certain things that are just natural of that, like having your parties, your address, breach of contract clause, termination, force majeure. Those are concepts that are just not unique to contracts. So you can identify, you can start with those that form part of almost every contract, list the elements, learn them to write, learn how to write them in your own words, and then you go to your ones that are a little bit niche towards the contracts and contract specific. Then you know that you are good to go. Like really, your self-assessment questions, do them. I know there's quite a lot. And also just revisit your past papers for contract. So I had a girl, we studied together, she's my friend, we studied together in university, we were really good study partners. She wrote paper 3 and it did not go well. She wrote the second time, it did not go well. And then when I told her that I'm writing all 4, she was like, Sheila, you know what, nothing was ever difficult for us whenever we studied together. Can I just hop in your train, then I can study with you? Funny enough, she trusted my self-made syllabus. We studied off the lead guide for contract. We studied off the lead guide for the other ancillary modules, but not touching on it, just touching base here and there to make sure that if something is spoken about in the exam, we understand what they're talking about. But our main focus was on contract. And what we also did is we took the papers from 2015, just all the parts that asked larger parts of contract. We did that. The only one that literally I told you I'm not gonna touch on this was the arbitration clause. But other than that, we did all our contract, specifically contract questions in each exam since 2015, and not necessarily writing them down, but what we would do is we would just read and then go to the memos that are available, highlight the main points that we would need to highlight when answering that specific question, and voila, she also came with a pass, I came with a pass. So I can confidently say that this trick works. Make sure your contract is on lock, know your clauses, and you'll be good to go, guys. Please don't even allow yourself to panic or anything or stress about paper 3, because stress automatically, if you get that paper and you're already stressing, you're gonna forget some of the things that you studied, because you carry around the stigma of paper 3, oh, a lot of people failing, and please, like, just do you. It's your race, and as long as you studied, as long as you gave it your all, you will pass. One thing I always tell people is that if you don't study, unfortunately you won't pass. But if you put in the work, the effort, and go full in, make sure you're starting from the right resources, and the right resource is the lead guide. I know a lot of us want to appoint tutors for quite a lot of things because it's gonna elevate the workload, but guys, the lead guide is really enough for you to pass. Like the material that lead gives us, like for me, that's more than enough for you to pass your board exam. So study, know your clauses, make sure you are familiar with the concept, the elements around that clause, what you would need to highlight in that specific clause in order for you to express yourself as you should, and as the examiner expects of you, so that you don't miss any important points in your clause. Then you're good to go. Like, you are good to go. So to those that will be writing in March, I hope you find this helpful. I hope it works for you. And until next time, if you need me to clarify anything regarding the law of contract, I am available. My DMs are open. If you find anything else out of the ordinary that you find difficult in your paper 3 study period, you're more than welcome to DM me. I can make a video for you addressing it, explaining it, even in vernac, guys. We can do this. I mean, we had 4 years of LLB. What is 4 papers just to get admission? You've got this, guys. And until next time, please click the like and subscribe button, share my video with your friends, and yeah, if you've got anything, please not WhatsApp, DM me. My DMs are open. I'm not as responsive as I should be, but definitely your turnaround time should be something like around 48 hours. I do check my DMs, just not as